Hello! This is Hooked by Happenstance. I'm Kendra, and it is time for chapter 43 of Yarn Tales. Yarn Tales is my ongoing series here where I read books, I tell you a bit about them, and then I apply silly Kendra rules to my reading for the book, and I add a segment to one of my many reading shawls. Now, when I started this project, I thought I was going to make one shawl for the year. I'm actually wearing the shawl that I thought was going to be the only one for the year, but turns out that it turned me back into a reader. So, I have read many books, 43 at this point, though many after that, that have turned into so far a purple, a blue, a green, and now I am working on a yellow shawl. So we're on to the fourth shawl of, I don't know how many it's going to turn out to be this year. So the book that we're going to talk about today is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Now, I read this book via audiobook through Libby, which is the audiobook service for Overdrive, and I listened to it on my phone at the end of April. So, as you can see, there's been a wee bit of time since then. At the end of April when I was doing a craft show. So I went through a ton of audiobooks during this weekend because I listened to them on my drive there and back to both the craft show and the place I was staying, and then also while I did setup. So I just barreled through a ton of books, and thankfully most of them were very good. This book in particular. So I had taken a wee bit of a break from reading over the last decade or so. I read tons to my kids, not a lot to myself. So this project was meant to help me kind of get back into reading for personal enjoyment. And this is one of those books that had come on my radar in that time period when I wasn't reading, that I knew that I wanted to read and just hadn't. Now, I know that Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda has become Love, Simon, a movie. I haven't seen the movie. I don't see a lot of movies, so I don't have any good comparative between those, but it's out there in the world. That's the thing you want to see, and I've heard it was pretty good. But this book is about Simon Spear, who is like 16-ish. He's a teenager, and he is gay, but he's not like openly gay. And he's having an online interaction that then kind of becomes a relationship with a person. And he, like I said, isn't really out about things. But somebody gets a hold of these email transactions, and it becomes a thing where Simon has to make choices about if, how, or when he wants to out himself. So, the story does a really good job, not just of focusing on that relationship, but Simon's relationship with everybody in his life. His parents are involved, actually a fair amount for a book about teenagers. A lot of times I feel like the parents, for the fact that parents, even absentee or like not really present parents in their kid's life, are like a huge thing in a kid's life. A lot of times they're just kind of ignored as characters in books about teenagers, but his parents are like actual characters in the book, as are his siblings and stuff. But the thing I really enjoyed was the interactions between him and his friend group. Simon and his group of friends reminded me so much of like my teenage experience and the kind of teenagers that I don't know, was around. Like, he's into drama and stuff. Like, him and his friends are all doing things. They're all very like active and busy and involved in school, and not necessarily involved in like setting up for prom and like that sort of thing, but like just involved in things as well as academically involved. And so I enjoyed what I considered a realistic portrayal of high school because it reminded me so much of my high school experience. So that was cool. Also, I found this book more relatable than some books about teenagers for me. I think because his interactions with like the guy that he's interacting with take place over email, as opposed to like texting or another social platform, you know, things that didn't exist when I was a teenager. But yeah, we were big into AOL Instant Messenger, which my friend group called AIM. And we also, I mean, lots and lots of emailing. So it spoke to me a bit more and was more hashtag relatable, even though I'm not a teenager anymore by any means. So that was really good. I gave this book 4 stars and discovered a new favorite author. I mean, it's not like my only favorite author, but Becky Albertalli is now up there. Like, I will read anything she ever writes now because I really enjoyed it. And spoiler, there are more Becky Abertali books coming up, and she has yet to disappoint. So that is really exciting. So I can add her to the list. Currently, the ones that are kind of on there, Adam Silvera is on there. Rainbow Rowell got added this year. Becky Abertali is getting added. My all-time, like, lifelong favorite, Maeve Binchy is on there. And what else have I really enjoyed? I think those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. I guess maybe at some point I'll start to, like, put together a list of my favorite authors. But those are kind of the ones currently that come to mind. So let's take a look at my shawl, because that's why I know a bunch of you are here. So the yellow shawl is just beginning. We're only on the second chapter or second book, as the case may be. I am working this shawl up in 3 different yarns. A yarn for physical books that I experience by myself, a yarn for audiobooks that I experience by myself, and then a yarn for books that I experience with my kids. So the way this works is I do a patterned row for each kind of yarn, and that is consistent across the whole shawl. And then after the patterned row that goes with that yarn, I do a row of textured single crochet for the star rating. So since it's got 4 stars, we have a fairly thick stripe of the banana colored yarn. This yarn was gifted to me by Carla, and I love it. It's so, like, vibrant. And it was really pleasant to work with too. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes from here and experiencing more great books. If you've missed out on the other Yarn Tales videos, don't worry, there is a playlist here on the channel so you can catch up, and there are many at this point for you to see. I hope that you are all having a good whenever you see this, and I will see you all next time. Bye!